school board attorney, as the parliamentarian, shall work with the board chair to enforce the meeting guidelines. This special board meeting was necessary in order to discuss the proposed boundary modifications and vote to approve one of the proposals. Mr. Mark Free, Senior Director of Student and Staff Projections, is here to answer any board member questions. Actually, before we get started for today's meeting, this is really the only time I can talk to my fellow board members. At this time, for me personally, the proposals that have been brought forward, I am not comfortable with making a decision on either one of those two today. I feel that there needs to be more work done on these, and I appreciate all the work that's gone in thus far, and I appreciate us working well in advance on this. But at this point, I'd like to hear from my fellow board members on their thoughts about potentially delaying this vote. Mr. Mogier, since you're on the phone, did you want to weigh in on this as well?
Yes, I did. Thank you, Ms. Director. I was looking at the proposal that was given to us at the last school board meeting, and I kind of like the way that was set up. It puts every school in the middle of the district, and it looked like a fairly common, decent proposal. I really like that, and I put it against the other maps of 1 and 2, so I kind of like number 3 myself.
So what I'm basically asking right now is how my fellow board members feel about delaying this and doing a little bit more work on fine. These. Okay.
Yeah, I'm for that, definitely.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rutherford, do you have your light on?
Yes, I feel like you're right. There's a lot of people out here that...
Can you speak in the mic, please? Thank you.
I'm sorry. Yes, I feel like you're right. There's a lot of people out here that still feel that there's a need to extend this so they can more bring in some more comments and positions on their half of it.
And just to further my comments on this, for me, this is a very big decision. It's a big vote. And I don't want to feel, right now I feel still rushed on it. That's just my personal feeling. So I don't know if Mr. Carter and Ms. Lucarelli want to weigh in, but.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll bump in here real quick. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I do feel a little rushed. I think I'd like to see a couple of other things and get the community's input on a few changes that I've talked to Mark Free about, and just see what the community feels about that before we rush into it. It's nice that we've done it this early, and I know, Ms. Lucarelli, that's something you've been pushing for really hard, and I appreciate that. So if we don't have to rush into it, I still think it's important that we hear what everybody has to say tonight, even if we decide not to vote on it. And I know you probably feel the same way, Ms. Lichter. So.
Well, the only thing is, we would then be doing it again. Like.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So.
Yep, good point. Good point.
Yeah, and I'm sure, I don't know if people in the audience right now are like, oh my gosh, like we came here tonight. I'm not comfortable, but Mrs. Lucarelli.
Thanks. I guess I would want to know what other alternatives the board felt we were going to be spending the time and looking at. And I say this only because when we did the high school, the biggest feedback, the biggest concern was that people felt like we, the district, were dropping something else, in people's lap with short notice for them to make alternative arrangements. And so that's why I made the suggestion to do it this far in advance, so that for people that do want to get on a list at a private school, be part of the lottery at a charter school, or move. I mean, people have done that, but I wanted to make sure that people had enough time to make the right decision for their children. The other thing is, we have, a year and a half ago, the original plan that came out with the high school, what included middle school and elementary school. And we got some feedback about that, but excuse me. If we choose to delay, so the information's out there right now, so I'm just going to use this as an example. we already have people that are choosing to out of zone their kids that are going to start kindergarten this coming year at Naples Park and Pelican Marsh, right? Like those are just two examples that I know of. So if we delay, then we're kind of we're taking away that opportunity for people to allow their child to start kindergarten, let's just say, because that's the example, without having to then start kindergarten and then get moved. So we can delay. I just think that these are things to take into consideration. It's feedback that we got or the first go around. And so that's why I had brought it to, we had the discussion with staff and why we talked about doing it this far in advance. Now, as I said before, I feel like it's easier for the school district to do what we did with the high school, even though that wasn't entirely intentional. But it takes some of the pressure off the school district because people are very busy then trying to make all of those arrangements at the last minute. I just don't think that's the right thing to do. I think the right thing to do is to give parents as much time as possible to make the decisions that they need to that are going to affect their families.
Yeah, and I definitely respect that, and that was one of the understandings too, was pushing this to the 20th and not pushing it further out. But right now, for me, the two proposals that we have in front of us, I couldn't support either one of those today. I feel like there needs to be some more work on those. So that's,
I guess, how so? What would you like to see done differently? And I say this just because this boundary modification team has been working on this for over 2 years, because it's been something that has been, I've been talking about it for a long time. So they knew that it was a consideration. So what, I guess, are the other considerations that we want a boundary modification team to look at?
well, I mean, I haven't sat in on any of those meetings. I would like an opportunity to address some of those things, that the comments that have come in, some of the concerns. I definitely understand the perspective that has come in from many families. So I just, at this time, we can move forward with the meeting. That's fine if the rest of the board wants to do that, and listen to public comments and take a vote. We can certainly do that today. I'm just saying the two proposals right now as they stand, I'm not comfortable making such a major decision today with what we have in front of us. That's just me personally. So, I don't know, Mr. Mosier, do you have any other comments?
Yeah, I'm kind of right behind you, Ms. Lister, on that. It's a lot of information that we've been given, and we do have some time on this, and I'd like to, delay the vote a little bit on it. Here's some public comment on what we have to, what we're going to review today, and then, I'd like to just make what you said, let's wait till maybe next month and see where we're standing, and maybe a couple other proposals and a couple other modifications to what's going on to the two proposals we have, because I think we can probably tweak it and do a little bit better job. And, I've read through all these comments that I've gotten, all the feedback, and that's a lot of reading. So,
I mean, there are
a lot of it kind of...
For me personally, another thing, Mr. Mosier, some of the changes still to me don't make sense, and I haven't fully had the opportunity to really understand the justification about some of this. Mr. Carter, your light's on.
So, one thing that we hear from some of the feedback is that, people don't want us to split up Palm River and Willoughby. So one thing I talked to Mr. Freed about was the possibility of keeping those two together over to Naples Park. And I would like to hear from the community of Willoughby how they feel about that. Now, the issue with me with that is I still think that Pelican Marsh is a better option for Willoughby simply because of the traffic flow in Immokalee, and they actually have to pass that school. But I would like to hear from Willoughby themselves to see what they say about that issue, because that's one of the feedback we've been getting. I did drive out to Heritage this weekend and looked at that split with Falcon Ridge because that was an issue. I tried to get into Imperial Golf Estates, but your guards are really great. They wouldn't let me in. They don't know my badge from Adam, so that was really good. I begged and pleaded, but you can see it on a map. I just wanted to get the feel of that. So to me, I think if we can get more feedback from the community on about keeping those two neighborhoods together, it would mean more congestion on Immokalee Road, which has been an issue here that we've talked about. It does make more sense Willoughby going straight into Pelican Marsh because it would take that congestion off of that. And to me, it makes more sense to keep Imperial River going through the back gate over to VME. And accomplishing the VME with Imperial, to me, would be able to give the option to move Willoughby and Palm River into Naples Park. By the way, I do have rental condo in Palm River, but this has none of my decision is based upon that. So I understand the flow of all that over there. So, but and it may not be feasible. I don't know. I mean, I would like to see what the team can come up with. And Willoughby may say no, we don't want to do that route. But I think hearing back from the community is important. I think we owe that to the community to hear more from them on different options because it's their kids. If they're willing to stay together and deal with all the traffic going down to Immokalee, and that's what Willoughby and Palm River want to do, if we can honor that, we should try to do so.
Madam,
That's my opinion.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think, let's just talk about it procedurally. I think what you can do is you can vote to table the vote, so to speak, until the next meeting. If you're looking for more information so that you can get like a third or a fourth proposal, now would be the time after you vote to postpone it, to get some preliminary public comment that would give the board a sense of the community's reality of what they want you to do, and then you would direct the superintendent to direct the team to bring back more data and information and a proposal for the next meeting.
So, Mr. Fishman, if it were to be a table the vote, the next meeting is in Everglades City, which we definitely do not want to move it to next month just because of the distance. We could potentially do another special meeting, I guess.
You could do a special meeting, or you could make it clear. You have some leeway. Typically, it's one meeting. It can be two if there are circumstances that would warrant it, in which you then could set it for May. But make sure that after you're done with your tabling it, that you have a date certain that you're going to bring it forward.
Okay, so we would need to decide today if we move it.
If you're going to table it, move it, and get more, needing more data to create an extra proposal, that would be my recommendation.
Any other comments from the board?
Yeah,
Mrs.
sorry,
Lucarelli.
So I can appreciate the fact that since I was the one sitting in on these meetings every week, every other week, and then every week for a while, that I have more understanding of the depths to which this boundary modification team went to explore all of these different options. And so if this is something that we want to table and move forward, then one, I would suggest that a different board member sits in on this. Somebody can take my place. I've seen the amount of work that has gone into this. I've seen all of the considerations, and I think it would be worthwhile for somebody else then to see that. Two, I think that, my understanding of having a representative there was so that I could be, the one to help all of you understand why we are where we are at this point. And so the thing that I'm struggling on is I really don't think that there's anything else, anything different that's going to come out of this, aside from, unless there is a consideration of we're going to close the school, something major like that, I don't know that there are any other tweaks that are going to be effective. And I say that because the team looked at so many different things. Having an idea, understanding what a lot of the people in this community would think. So I'm not against it. I mean, I'll support it. It sounds like that's what most people want. And I would rather everybody be more informed. But I think that the team's going to need more direction from the board than just take it back and look at some of these things.
All great points, and I don't want to give any disrespect to staff, you, or the parents here today. I would almost recommend, prior to the vote, is having another work session style where we can dig into some of these things as a board. Public can, of course, weigh in as well, and have it up there so we can talk about it. Like, I'll give one example that I recall, like Tarpon Bay, they would be moving to VME, right? Tarpon Bay over by like the Target. So to me, it would make more sense for them to turn right and head east and go and stay at Laurel Oak. That's just one example I'm throwing out there. So I just feel like maybe that's what would be better and I appreciate all the work you did sitting in and the staff. This was a lot of time, but if we can kind of have it up there, instead of saying we'll give direction right now, let's do it there. Let's talk about it. And then there could be things that we don't know and the public doesn't know, that if Mr. Free could say, well, here's the justification as to why.
And that's what I was going to say. I think if you want staff to be able to identify for the board and the public all of the reasons why, this doesn't really work, or this doesn't solve the issue of trying to alleviate overcrowding and more evenly populate the schools that we have. I mean, we know we need more schools. So that's what I'm saying. And yes, maybe a workshop where staff is able to address some of the specific suggestions that were made.
And then I think the public might even feel like there's more transparency in the process too, because I know that was a concern, even though I do feel that we have been open and involving the public, but maybe that would also ease some concerns too, and we can really discuss it openly. I like when we have our work sessions in general, just because I feel like it's a more relaxed dialogue that we can have and converse. So,
If I may, so with the work session, we usually have those in the morning, but I think what we should find out is what's better for the community. If to do it later in the afternoon is better, because, a lot of parents may be working, it may be difficult for them, but we need to do it as soon as possible.
Well, we have a lot of the feedback and a lot of the suggestions.
Okay.
And those would all be recorded anyway, too. I mean, I'm not trying to not allow the public to be part, but I want us to be able to address a lot of the comments that have come in and suggestions too. So, but I mean, I'm always fine with an afternoon as well.
Yeah.
I think that would be beneficial to do it like a 4:30.
I think it would be better.
So,
Dr. Riccadelli, did you want to weigh in?
Well, a couple things. I'm just trying to clarify. So, I think you had said you wanted to sit in on a meeting with the Boundary Modification team to get your own questions answered, or at first you said that.
I said
then you switched it to a work session with the board.
Let's have it open and we could all be discussing, and that way all five of us are seeing it. Everyone's seeing the justification behind why these two proposals versus what about this as an alternative consideration. Like I said, I can't vote on what's right in front of me right now I just can't today.
I was just trying to determine which way you were going with that, because if you were gonna have us go back to the drawing board, that's more than one meeting, that's many months of going back. So that's why I was trying to figure out where were we with this. That's all.
I think good
What-
question. I think it's just more of a work session to dig in a little bit deeper.
What
with
you
all
could
of
do,
us.
Madam Chair, of course, you vote to table it, and then perhaps have your work session shortly before the Everglades meeting.
Okay.
And announce there, as you're going through it, that there will be another proposal based upon the data received. That then can be brought forward for discussion and vote in May. Then you really have your timetable set. Community has had, several opportunities at input, especially if you entertain some public speakers tonight, just to give some preliminary. Then they speak again at your work session, and then, of course, the final proposals will be discussed and debated, including community input in May.
So
Does that make sense?
Next week is a 4-day week, and then the following week is,
You can put right after Everglades.
so it doesn't have to be before Everglades.
No, it does not. I'm just thinking of a timetable to provide an appropriate amount of time for the public to digest, what's going to be learned at a work session.
Could we do like April 4th at like 4:30? Would that work? I guess it's a little over 2 weeks to get another proposal put together.
April 4th, you said, Thursday, April 4th, 4:30?
I cannot do that night.
It's 2 weeks.
No. Okay, that one doesn't work.
I think you gotta look for after Everglades meeting.
Everglades is the 9th, you could do it thereafter.
Yeah, I was trying to get it in before that.
We could, how's
Maybe the
the
10th.
April 10th?
April 10th is good for me. 4:30?
That works for me.
Board members, Dr. Riccadelli?
Yeah, that's good.
Mr. Rutherford, April 10th?
I haven't got my schedule right now, but it probably would be fine. I try to work out whatever I have to work out.
4:30, Ms. Lichter?
Yeah.
I'm good with April.
I just thought we wanted to get a little bit something in before the next school board meeting, but if it's the day after, that
So
would
we'll-
be fine
Well,
also.
it wouldn't be prudent to vote for that in Everglades anyway, so
No.
the vote needs to happen
Right.
here where the folks are, so.
So I just want to clarify, work session on April 10th at 4:30
Correct,
in this boardroom.
in this board.
Correct.
No, I mean, no, not in this board.
Yeah, I like here's the thing.
Well, maybe we could be on the
Well,
floor.
we may
Yeah,
have to
maybe,
have-
yeah,
Maybe
can
we
we
could
be
have
on
tables
here?
on the floor.
Yeah, you can have it round table down there if you need.
Yeah. Just because the number of people and the mics are here and everything like that, so. So does this mean we're not gonna have the presentation today? Or I
Yeah,
still.
I think it needs to, it
You-
all
you know,
needs to wait.
You can't, if the board decides not to go forward and votes on that, then there would be no presentation. The board then can elect to have some public speakers who want to speak on it now. And then, you have your
I
work
think
session
it would be
anyway.
nice if there are people that want to speak, that we let them, because they